Welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. We have another great episode today, so don't forget to hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, here's your host, physical therapist, marketing expert, and CEO of Practice Promotions, Neil Trickett.
So what are we talking about this in April for? Well, summer is coming. It'll be here before you know it. And for those of you in practice that do experience some slowdowns in the summertime, now is the time to really start thinking about that. And so we don't want our practice to look like this, in July or August, and we're going, where is everybody, right? Because that has a cascading effect on the practice, obviously financially, staff morale, everything, right? So we want to make sure that we can keep our staff busy through the summer months, and obviously that helps the financial stability of the practice too. So we definitely don't want our therapists to look like this. And have you ever experienced this in the summer with your therapist sitting around not knowing what to do because they have too many holes in their schedule? So if you've had that, say I in the chat. Let's see how many people have had this experience. Yep, so definitely pop it up there in the chat. People have definitely experienced this, and it can be very frustrating as a practice owner or a director in a clinic. You're walking around, you're like, why aren't they doing something, right? And the thing is, the therapist can be doing some different things, calling past patients and things like that if they're slow. But it's also our responsibility to make sure that they've got patients to treat and help, right? So that's the marketing function of the clinic, right? And keeping the therapist busy and doing their job. So we want to make sure that they're full of patients and continue to get patients healthy and busy throughout the summertime. And that's why we're putting our attention on it now, so that we can overcome these challenges that can be faced by clinics in the summertime. So, many practices face slowdowns in June, July, August. And there's also a lot of other businesses and industries. Like for us too, we experience slowdowns typically in July because a lot of practice owners are on vacation with their families, and so they're not making decisions around their marketing at that time. So there's definitely, in other industries, this is an issue too. And there's also seasonality in different times of the year when we see impacts, right? Or, holidays and things like that too in the clinic. So we'll know that sometimes cancellations, reschedules can be higher during the summertime, right? Because people are busy, maybe they don't have childcare, whatever the situation is. There tends to be a little bit more cancellations and reschedules. So that's to be some more tension around this with the team, right? And training there. Patients can have vacations that they're going on, so they're not around, or they started therapy, they're going to be away for a week. All kinds of things like that start to happen. Kids are out of school, so there's no coverage for moms and dads. That can be challenging. Let's face it, physicians have vacations too. So if we get quite a bit of referrals in our clinics and the key doctors are going to be out on vacation for a couple of weeks, that can definitely impact referrals into the practice. And then our own therapist providers have vacations too, right? So coverage in the clinic, managing caseloads. So that definitely has to be addressed too. For us, I was talking about, I had my clinic down in West Palm Beach area in Florida, very seasonal, a lot of snowbirds that came down for the winter time, went back up in the summertime. And so we always knew that August was a very challenging month for us. And so we tried a lot of different marketing actions to keep the visits where we could, but we knew there was going to be some challenges with coverage. So we worked out with one of our therapists that she really liked to take a prolonged vacation, right? So she'd actually take a month off and go do a big trip because she was a little bit older. And it worked out great because then we didn't, it was unpaid leave and she wanted to do it and it worked out great. So sometimes just having those conversations with your own therapist in terms of longer vacations, or, if they wanted to take an extended vacation without pay, on top of their PTO, whatever they have, that can be done. And then let's face it too, some people put off that decision of getting help for their health, right? Sometimes until school's back in, or, if it's an elective surgery or, whatever the case may be, some people just decide to put it off. But here's the thing is you can improve your clinic's numbers this summer. It just takes a shift in the mindset of, not doing the norm, right? And so we kind of get into this groove of what we need to make happen on a monthly basis for our practice. And sometimes we don't necessarily look too far ahead and realize that there's times in the years where we have to shift gears and put it into overdrive to make the normal in those months, the same as the other months in the year. So you have to kind of shift your mindset about that. So let's use the chat here a little bit. And, what is your ideal scene for this summer? What would you say? Is it you want to keep your clinic, level with your current patient visits? If you usually experience like a 25% drop, do you want to keep it 10%? Are you looking to expand 10%? Go ahead and punch in there what you think your ideal scene would be this summer. All right, so Rebecca says level or increase. Awesome. You got to recruit for a PT for that too. Yeah. Pam says to keep patient load at least average or greater. Yep, good. And Paul says ideally would be just to say the same. So there's a lot of agreement here that just trying to keep the numbers about the same as the rest of the year is a goal, right? We know there's going to be a dip. How can we keep it as level as possible, which would obviously help us financially and patient visit numbers. All right, so the best way to get to your ideal scene is to correctly estimate the amount of marketing effort that's needed. And this is where many business owners, practice owners get into trouble because they underestimate the amount of effort it's really going to take to keep those numbers even just level, right? So that I want you to think about that when you're going back and you're looking at your plan ahead for the summer. Is this the right amount of effort that it's really going to take to do that? So here's some simple math, right? I want you to think about, okay, a lot of you said I want to keep my patient load level. So what is that number of patient visits per month for you that would be level, right, in say July? And then I want you to divide that number, right, by the average number of visits for plan of care. Is that 10 visits average? Is it 11? Is it 12? Whatever that is for you. And that should give you then how many number of new patients you would need to have in order to get those number of patient visits. So I want you to do a little math right now and then punch in the chat what that number of new patients should be for you. I'll give you a little example here while you're working on that. Let's say you have 800 patient visits per month. Divide that by 10 average visits per plan of care. And that would give you 80 new patients that I need to get. So what's that magic number for you? All right, so for Pam, it's 90 new patients. Okay, thank you, Pam. For Paul, it's 85. Okay, good. Also for Rebecca, about 50. Good. For Truffaut here, it's 150 per clinic. Okay, that's a big clinic, so that's good. But obviously a higher demand, right, in terms of new patients needed. So that's the thing, right? You got to kind of work backwards. What if I want to keep my numbers level, all right, and I know how many average visits I get plan of care, how many new patients am I going to have to get for that month, right? And that's a little predictive planning out there. It gets you in the right mindset. And now it's like, okay, if we normally do that in these months, and I know I'm going to have less people, I got to work a lot harder here in terms of getting those number of new patients in the door to keep those numbers the same level. You can do the same thing here. I'm sure you do this anyway for like predicting, hey, I want to grow by 20% this year. What would that look like? Let me take my average, my number of patient visits that I need and get that number of new patients that I need to factor to get at that month, like say by December. If I want to increase my business by 20%, that's 960 patient visits per month on this equation. So that would mean I need to be able to achieve and ramp up to 96 new patients a month in order to be making that happen. So simple formula here can have a big impact on your clinic. So The first and most powerful step to overcome the summer slump is start marketing early, right? Time is your most valuable asset in anything, right? And so we get into trouble when we don't start early enough on these activities. And so the time to start thinking about July and August is now in April, right? You got to really start getting the ball moving for that. So Ben Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So if you've ever heard this before, just type in yes in the chat. Yeah, for Avery, yes. Okay, good. A lot of people have heard this before, so it's practice, right? We're all practice. We're not all perfect at this. It just takes some practice, but just the mindset again, like, okay, we got to plan for what we need to achieve here in the summer. So marketing planning always is a key part of your business. So as a practice owner, as a CEO of your business, your number one function to start off with in financial planning is marketing, because marketing drives revenue, right? And then organizations, logistics, billing, all that kind of stuff has your attention. But as practice owners, we tend to put a lot of our attention on things that we are more familiar with, which tends to be operations and treating patients and all the things that go around that. And then we don't put as much attention on the marketing, which is actually driving the revenue, the new patients of the business into the business. So marketing planning is critical on a monthly basis. And especially right now, planning for the summer is really very, very important. So the thing to this is that you have to think that marketing is like a heavy flywheel, right? You have this really heavy wheel, right? You think like a merry-go-round, and you start pushing on this thing, right? There's a lot of inertia. So you start pushing on it, it starts to go slowly. And then as you keep pushing, it starts to speed up. And eventually you've got some good momentum happening on this thing, and it keeps going, right? So marketing is kind of the same way, that you're putting effort into it. It takes some time to spin up and be effective. It might take you, a couple of months to really start to get some results out of this. And we all know that marketing needs repetitive action with our prospects, right? So our prospective new patients out there, we need to have repetition over and over and over again. And that's why marketing just takes some time. So you have to really think about that with your planning. Okay, again, what do I need to have in July and August? Let me plan now. So as I mentioned before, you need to correctly estimate the amount of effort it will take to get the same number of new patients in the summer months as it would in your busier months. And this might mean you have to at least double your marketing efforts before and during these months. And we'll go over some ideas here that you can be doing for that. But just again, like, hey, if I expect usually a 25% drop here, well, it's not just 25% more effort or investment in marketing, whatever it may be. It might be 50, 75%, 100% more just to retain that. Okay, and that's just the way that it goes. So ideally, a marketing should be working hard in May and June to beef up the clinic numbers for July and August. So I'm sure we all have that experience with as we get new patients in. Some of those patients stay for 2-3 weeks. Some of them stay for 6-8 weeks, right? And so whatever patients that we're getting in May and June can trickle over into July and August patient visit numbers. That's why, if you're waiting too long and your marketing isn't really being effective until later in August, you've already missed that boat. So what can you do now to make sure that May and June are very successful, and you can have that trickle down effect into those other months? So here's an example. This is Madden and Gilbert Physical Therapy. Chad Madden, if you know him, we actually do his marketing for his website and digital marketing there. So this is when he started approximately in January. And you can see here with the ramp up in numbers, so that by June, he was actually having the best month for new patients, right? Because it was this layering effect of all these different marketing actions and more effort that's going into that, ramping it up and getting prepared for growth throughout the year, but especially those summer months. So number one practice mistake that I see happen often is that as practice owners, things get a little lean, right? In their practice, we all know that reimbursement's been cut this year. That's definitely impacted the bottom line. Compound that with slower months, and you can start to feel like the pinch, right, in the practice. So the first place that we start to think of is like, where can I cut costs, right? And unfortunately, one of the mistakes that happens is they think marketing is where I need to trim expenses. And that's actually the wrong thing. Marketing is what gets you out of that problem, because you can get the clinic busier. And then you have to manage actually payroll and staffing. Those are the things that is your biggest cost, right? So that's where things need to be looked at. Anyway, so number one mistake here is retracting marketing spend during lean times. And again, realizing that more effort has to be put into marketing in lean months to get the same result as good months. And so here's an example on the left of business recovery curve. This is something we taught during COVID. This is actually a best practice in Fortune 500 companies. But basically, you hit this sort of emergency state, whether that's a really slow month, whether we did this in COVID, because obviously COVID was a major outside factor that impacted clinics. But you have this drop, right? You have this temporary financial loss. And if you look over here, we have clinic 1 and clinic 2. So if clinic 2 continues to just do things at a normal pace, it takes them a longer time to recover from that drop of a slow month. Whereas if clinic 1 here is much more aggressive in their marketing, they're able to ramp back up at a faster time. So while both clinics experience a temporary financial loss, clinic 1 here has less of a prolonged financial loss because they got back up and running as fast as they can, whereas clinic 2 didn't adapt. And so they have a lot longer prolonged financial loss. So that's just good business fundamentals there. So anytime, again, if we can be more predictive over here and preventative, we can actually, not stymie this kind of loss here from a slow month. So let's talk about marketing budgeting. So you want to work backwards from here. And I'm curious in the chat, what do you think is the percentage of what you should spend on marketing to your gross income, right? Is it 2%, 5%, 8%, 10%? What do you think is the industry standard in healthcare? Paul says 10 to 15%. Okay. Trifo says 10. Rebecca says 5 to 8. Excellent. Great answers, guys. Yeah, so across small businesses, across all industries, the average is around 11%. For healthcare, that includes physicians, everything else is typically about 8%. Okay, and it just depends on what, again, you're trying to do. So let's say, for example, that we went back to our formula before. We know how many new patients we need to get to hit our goals with that. And then looking at how much marketing investment does that usually take, to get to that level there. All right, so marketing budgeting, again, you might need to make sure that now if you have a little bit, additional profitability, is some being put away so that could be put towards marketing budgeting during those slower, before those slower months. And again, that's just something, again, to start looking at throughout the year, is where you're putting money away in reserves so you can tap into those reserves, increase marketing investment and budgeting during those times when it's going to be a little leaner, so that you can offset those issues. So that's step one, right? Start marketing early, use time, have it on your side. Now is the time to act to overcome the summer slump. All right, step two is to market heavily to your past patient list. Now, I know we've got some of our clients on here, so I know you do a great job. We help you outflow to your past patient list, newsletters, blogs, emails, those kind of things. What I want to say is that there can always be more that's done to your past patient list. And so for us, like in our practice, we would actually not only direct mail like our newsletter that went out every single month, but we'd do additional postcards and other types of extra emails and things like that during that prep phase for the summer to help overcome it, right? So you really should be prioritizing marketing to your patient list if you're not doing that already. And when I've talked to thousands of practice owners across the US, I always ask them, how do you feel you're doing with marketing to your past patients? And I would say, over 95% of them say they could be doing a better job, right? So this is our customer list. This is what we should be doing. How do you think Starbucks got as big as they did? because they do an amazing job of keeping their customers coming back, right? And so we should be doing the same thing. Our patients can always use us, and we don't put enough priority on that. So prioritize your marketing to your past patient list and realize that people know you and they like you, and you want to keep that emotion tied to you. And let's face it, that people don't want to come back to therapy unless they really have to, right? We've all had that experience with a patient. You're like, hey, Mrs. Smith, great to see you again. I see you're back in for your knee. How long have you been suffering with that? Oh, so the last 6 months. And you're like, why didn't you come back in sooner? Because it has to get to a certain point where they really need to do something about it. But your job in marketing with your past patients is to keep that emotional connection and keep prodding them to pay attention to their pain or their problem or something that's coming back, and that you're going to help them take care of it. So they need to come back in. So past patients really need that reminding to come back in, at least 7 to 10 times, seeing your different content to really convert and do something about it. All right, a quick question here from Paul. Paul says, what if you're opening an additional clinic in a different area and don't have a past patient list? Great question, Paul. We'll go over some tips here in a second. You definitely want to be able to leverage more of digital advertising, things that you can be doing there. However, is there any possibility that there can be a little bit of overlap there? And so it's not even a bad idea if you are opening a new location. Some simple things that you could be doing here is to let people know in your patient list with your regular patient newsletter, for example, hey, we have a new location that's opening. That excites people because they see you're growing, right? You're doing well. People want to be with a winning place. So that's fundamental there. They might know somebody over in that part of town, right? So that could help stimulate referrals. And then you can also be working on things like buying a list of people in that radius around that clinic, start doing some postcard campaigns, digital advertising campaigns. So there's a lot that can be done to really get a clinic up and running. But one caveat here is that a new location, you got to treat it like a new business. It's going to take a lot more marketing budget to get that clinic up and running and where it needs to be compared to keeping your existing location running. So like for your existing location, let's say maybe you need about 10% usually of marketing budget to keep things, growing steadily. But for a new location, you might need to do 25% of that clinic's gross income that it would make for the first year. And then as it's more established, you can peel that marketing budget back. So let's look at why, you're welcome, Paul. So here, let's look at focusing on returning patients is critical. So this is actually call tracking here just for returning patients. And so we've got some new systems this year, which is pretty cool. And we could differentiate who's a new patient, who's a current patient, who's a returning patient as they come in through making phone calls, website, Google My Business, direct mail, all kinds of stuff like that. And so we can start to see this data in terms of who is a new patient, who's a returning patient. So this is just returning patients here. And you can see again, like if you start to focus on this, you get this building effect of past patients coming back in. And so, if you start off lower where you may be getting 8 to 15 past patients back in on a month because we all have returning patients. But what if you put more focus on that and you're able to double those numbers up to 30 past patients coming back in instead of 15, right? That's doubling the effect, right? So that's why it's so important to put attention on past patient marketing. So here's some things that you can be doing for past patient marketing that we find to work really well for clinics. Postcard campaigns are great, right? So you should be doing postcard campaigns out. Again, this can really help you offset that summer slump. So if you have postcard campaigns starting now, you got to figure on design, printing, mailing time at bulk rates. That's about a 4-week cycle. So if those are going out now, those are going to start to hit mid to end of May, right? And that's good timing because that gets your end of May, June numbers starting to go up, and you have a few campaigns for May and June and July with postcard campaigns that can get your numbers up there, especially again, postcards to past patients. If you have a decent sized list of say over 1,000 people to market to. All right, so here's some examples. This clinic here, 87% increase in patients in 30 days. This was a multi-location clinic in Utah with that. Avery's got some ideas for you too, if you wanted to go check out some ideas. or for that after the webinar here. But again, here is where can you be doing additional things? So people interact with direct mail, people interact with emails, people interact with social media. You have to be everywhere today, and you have to invest in those things. Patient newsletters, super critical here. Every clinic should be doing a monthly patient newsletter out to their patient list. If you have 500 or more people on your list, it's a really powerful thing to be doing. And so here you want to be sending this out, digitally, right? So emails, social media, but direct mail is so important because 90% of the people are going to get it in their hands. Email, you might get 30, 40% if you're lucky, right? So getting your content in front of people is key. Direct mail is a really important part of it. And people have a very different experience opening something in their mailbox than opening inbox on their screen, right? So it's something important for that. And we see a lot of great success for clinics that are doing newsletters. For example, here you can see again, reactivations. This clinic that wasn't doing newsletters before, right? Lower months there. Over the course of that time, over the course of a year, compounding effect of people getting used to seeing that content from the clinic can substantially increase the number of past patients coming back in, and those are like a new patient, right? Again, showing a compounding effect here from calls from newsletters. When someone gets a newsletter, they're going to do different actions, right? They're going to call from the phone number in the newsletter. They're also then going to go visit the website and call from the website. They're going to go, oh yeah, I need to go back. Let me look them up on their phone to get to Google My Business. They call in through Google My Business. So all these actions are stimulating to do different things. And we can see the compounding effect here. This clinic going from like 10 returning patients a month to, 55. Amazing, right? So like in a matter of short time, just a huge volume. This is actually a bigger clinic, 8 locations, but you can see again how that compounds in such a powerful thing. All right, so that's step 2, right? Is obviously getting marketing out to your past patients. Step 3 here is to be topical, right? So you want to say what people are thinking in the moment, right? In that time of the year. And so we can keep the reader focused around what is more relevant for them. So they might be thinking about some different things on their mind during these summer months than they would say around Christmas time, right? So we want to be relevant in what we're putting out to them. So here's some example of campaigns that have worked for different clinics. As you can see here, this clinic focused a lot on saying, keeping up with PT during the summer months. Direct call right there, like calling it out, right? Why you should be doing this during the summer months, not putting it off. This is an example of different emails that have gone out, right? So May is National Arthritis Awareness Month, right? July 4th campaigns, summer campaigns for sports, or what a great thing to do at the end of summer, especially like if you want to send stuff out in August. A lot of kids start to go back, middle of August, some early August, just depends where you're on the country. And a lot of summer programs, like let's say for school, sports teams, they might actually start early August, some even end of July. So depending what you need there, you can again have some email campaigns or direct mail campaigns, postcard campaigns, things that are going out to help you get more athletes into the clinic who are thinking about it at that time. The goal there is just to be relevant at the time, speak to these different times of year and what people should be paying attention to. All right, so step 4 is creating an irresistible summer offer. So what could you offer this summer, right, that would help get a little bit more people in the clinic to keep the numbers the same? Have you done a free screening or consultation before? Is that something you could try again or promote again, right? Do you have other services? Like, do you have massage, acupuncture, laser, right? These are great cash-based services that you could give a free trial for, or a special discount, or something there that you could help increase, obviously the numbers there. Coupons is another good thing, especially for cash-based things. So, if you have any cash-based, subscriptions or anything you might do after the initial visit, those are things you could do. If you have people coming in and they're out of network, can you do a special offer there for the summer? So there's lots of things that you got to get kind of creative on your end of what you think would work well for your for your area. And ultimately you want to be able to provide an offer. So this is a clinic here, Complete Physical Therapy in New Jersey. And they actually did a lot of postcard and free consult, free checkup kind of campaigns. They did a great job with that. We're doing well. COVID years, they actually, I want to say late last year, they kind of, held back on the direct mailing. And they're like, we're going to try to cut expenses. We're going to try to do this. They cut back on that. Painfully, they found out that that was a bad thing. So they started back up early this year, started getting those things flowing and doing much better from that. And actually, James I did a great podcast with him. If you listen to our podcast, he talks all about his different, offers and things that he does, especially to past patients for checkups there. So that one's for like a free checkup offer there. This one here is going out to past patients. I think some also people in the area, but like free rotator cuff screening. Again, just different ideas that you can have here. What can you get to get someone to take a little bit of an action, create an irresistible offer, in the clinic. All right, so that's step 4 there. Now, step 5, let's look at, digital advertising here. So just a quick thing here in the chat. So here on the webinar, who is currently doing Google Ads? All right, Trifo's the only one that's coming up here. So if you're not doing Google Ads, or someone doing it ourselves, okay, great, Sydney. Great to have you on board there. We'll help you out with that. Pan's looking to try it. Yeah. Okay, so we'll talk here a little bit on digital advertising. And I think the key thing to understand here now is that this is something that's more important this year than was ever before. And the reason is that Google did one of their biggest updates they've done in the last 5 years in December of last year. And basically what that did was how your clinic was ranking on Google in a certain radius around your clinic shrunk dramatically. Google wanted to make things super local. So if your clinic used to rank, say number 1, right, for physical therapy, and used to be able to get 5-10 mile radius around your clinic, that's probably shrunk to about 1 or 2 miles, right? So you've lost that ability to market to those people beyond, let's say, 2 miles from your clinic, depending on the size of your town and all those kind of factors. So Google is a company that makes money, right? And they make their money by advertising. And so they're wanting, obviously, people to leverage more advertising, and you got to play the Google game now to get more people to find you. And so this year, it's especially critical to start doing paid advertising through Google so that you can actually go beyond that radius of just normal, or what they call organic searching. So you can actually target zip codes, certain cities, or radius around your clinic, whatever it may be, and start to be able to be seen by people in those areas that would actually, come to your clinic. So anyway, coming back here, we want to use Google advertising because we're looking through Google searches, right? And people who are searching for some sort of help, right? Something, some advice, some tips, a service, whatever it may be. So we want to make sure that we can get in front of them. Whereas something on social media, people are just browsing and doing like entertainment, and you're getting in front of them, which is just like very broad awareness. And that's part of advertising, but we like to focus a bit heavier on people who are actually searching for solutions, which is why investing in Google advertising is really critical. So at the top here, we've got what we call SEM, which is search engine marketing, and that's where you'll pop up in the advertisements at the top. And then also you get advertisements in the maps section here, right? The 3-pack, what they call. And then we've also got our SEO, which is search engine optimization. And this is how we rank in the 3-pack, right? The maps section, the Google My Business and all that good stuff. And then down here in the top 10, right? Searches. So ideally, what would be fantastic is to make sure that your clinic can actually rank in 4 spots on Google, rank in the advertising at the top, advertising here in the maps, we're advertising in the maps, and then we're also, up here. So you can see this clinic, ad, map. They own 4 spots on page 1 of Google. That's why it's so important to look at doing digital advertising. All right, so the way to think about it is Google Ads is the short game. Within a matter of about a month, you can really start to get some impact here in terms of people finding you and coming through and calling the clinic and becoming good leads. SEO is the long game. So it's the battle to always be at the top in the maps and then also in that top 10. And it's a strategy, right? And it fluctuates with time, and you got to keep doing a lot of different things to get you up there. So you have these two different things. They're not the same, they're different. And as we saw before, we want to do both of them at the same time. And as I said before, within 30 days, the ads can be really working effectively to start to produce results. And obviously, again, in that second month, things start to really dial up. So a couple different Google Ads strategies here. First and foremost is you want to be focused on your physical therapy campaigns, or if you have chiropractic, if you have massage, whatever specific campaigns that are going to be for that particular service. So keywords like physical therapy near me is a big one. Physical therapy in your specific town, and best physical therapy. These are some of the core campaigns that you want to be running for Google Ads. Then you also want to be doing condition specific campaigns, right? So let's say we put like 75% of our advertising budget here, maybe 25% of our advertising budget here. So condition specific campaigns are people who are more, obviously searching for their back problems like knee pain, shoulder pain, rotator cuff injuries, those kind of campaigns there. So the goal here is to keep it condensed, ideally like your top 3, diagnoses: back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain. Keep it around that. If you go too broad, you don't have enough marketing advertising budget to really get, make a dent in anything, and you're doing a shotgun approach. Whereas if you can be a bit more specific here, you can really get a lot of keywords and the ads showing for these particular conditions. So it comes back to finding the right patient at the right time with the right ad, and that's really based on how they are searching. So I saw some comments in here that they're, you've done it yourself, or you've done it in the past, but then you paused it. And this is something very typical that we see. People know that they need to try these things, so they try to do it themselves. It's like having a patient going out and say, well, I can do PT, right? I can do it on myself. I'll just go do some exercises. And we all know that it takes years of training in physical therapy to be able to diagnose, effectively treat, mobilize, soft tissue mobilization, whatever it may be. Like, there's a reason that you go have experts help you, right? So if you try to DIY it yourself, you can definitely waste thousands of dollars for little return. In fact, we have one client that came in, was spending $10,000 a month on Google advertising and hardly getting any new patients for it. And they just thought they had to keep doing it, but they obviously were looking for something else. And you'd be able to bring that budget down to like 1,000 and get 10 or 15 new patients a month from that easily, right? So you can definitely waste a lot of money trying to do it yourself. The reason is that Google ads are pretty complex. Google tries to make it simple. It's like they try to get people to do it themselves. But the problem is that it takes consistent monitoring and updating and knowing the best practices for it. And Google will tell you like, oh, you can set it up this certain way. It just kind of runs on its own. Well, that's not very well optimized. And so again, you're spending a lot of money there. You're getting some what's called conversions, but people don't end up being a new patient. So the thing here is Google wants you to spend more. So they have these sort of recommendations in their Google Ads platform. What you don't want to do is you don't want to follow all of the recommendations, because that can definitely waste a lot of money, and you can again be what's called over optimized, and they'll be showing your stuff on gaming platforms and things like this. Like you don't need to be on those things and waste money on that. So that's why it's really important to, again, use people who have experience in this. It's, again, a whole program that we've developed over time. It's working really well for our clinics. And even if you don't work with us, certainly use a different, marketing agency that has experience in this, so you're getting good ROI out of it. Here's just an example of a clinic here. You can see, again, matched in with the phone tracking systems that we have now, you can actually see the new and returning phone call leads generated from that, specifically where they're coming from. So we can tell, did they come from a Google ad or a Google My Business or from the website itself. And so here you can see, this clinic generated 36 new and returning patient phone call leads for their Google ads for the month, for the 30 days, out of 94 conversions there. So, roughly for that amount, they're typically probably about $2,000 ad spend. Most clinics are like $750 to $1,000 a month, and they're getting anywhere from, like 8 to 15 extra new patients from that ad spend. So very good ROI. But again, it's a critical part of what you should be doing and how this can really offset you during the summer months, right? So another multi-location clinic here in 30 days with a focused on Google Ads, adding to their additional things that they were doing with us. They went from 12, new patients there as they started to, again, this first 30 days, you get results with that, but then Google's learning, their algorithm is learning the whole time in those first 30 days and then starts to deliver more. And so then by the time you get to that after 30 days and that next month, you can see here that substantially increases in the number of new patients coming from the Google Ads. All right, so the main thing here is you definitely want to go from this in the summertime to this in the summertime, right? And this is what we all want. We want to keep our clinics level or even a little bit better through the summer months, and you can definitely do that. It just takes these 5 steps to really implement it. One is definitely start your marketing early and plan to up your efforts, right? You can't keep doing the same thing and expect the same results. You have to substantially increase that, correctly estimate the amount of efforts. Then you want to market heavily to your past patients. If you're already doing a good job with that, what can you do to increase the outflow? If you're not doing much with that, definitely time to start doing a lot with marketing to past patients. Be topical. What kind of summer themes and activities and problems that people come up with that you can be addressing there? How can you create that irresistible summer offer coming into the clinic? Free screening, free trial for a cash-based service, whatever it may be. And then how can you leverage quick results with digital advertising in your clinic? So these 5 key things are really going to help you overcome that summer slump in your clinic. So if you're not working with us already, you definitely want to take this time for this summer to turn your practice into a new patient generating machine. And you can do that with our Ultimate PT Marketing solution. So we take our Ultimate PT Marketing funnel strategy here, which we've worked with over 1,400 clinics doing that, combined with our Ultimate PT Marketing system. So this is websites, digital marketing, digital advertising, patient newsletters, blogs, emails, SEO, all kinds of great stuff in here, combined with our awesome team. Now we're over 90 people on our team. Everything from SEO specialists, digital marketing, graphic designers, web designers. We have it all that are really helping support our clients and get them the best results there. So if you haven't had this already, you definitely want to get our Ultimate PT Marketing Kit. This is absolutely free. In this, you're going to get our Ultimate PT Marketing Funnel Strategy, cracking the code to more new patients, physical newsletter samples and ideas, and you'll also get a 12-month free subscription to our PT Marketing newsletter. And again, it's free. All you got to do is just go to practicepromotions.net/kit, and we'll actually ship it to you for free. So definitely want to get that. And also, if you want to learn more about, that's a great starting point. If you want to learn more and see more about our systems and how that's helping clinics across the US and Canada, you can start with a 20-minute consult here. And then you can get, that's where you'll learn what can be working well for your clinic, talk about some of the challenges, things that you're looking to accomplish, and then we can see if we're a right fit there. And then you can get the demo. We'll introduce you to all the different systems and how those work to get you new patients and returning patients in the door. And then we can talk about different plans that we have and what works best for you. And you can just simply go to practicepromotions.net and schedule the demo in the top right corner there. Don't forget your 5 things to implement this summer. And oh, Trifo had a question about mailings. Yeah, definitely get in touch with our team. Best thing to do is talk to one of our account managers. They can get you details all about that. All right. So again, try these 5 things here. Let's see if you can have an awesome summer, have fun while you're there, and also make the clinics do really well through the summer. All right. Wishing you much success. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again for joining us today. Be sure to check out practicepromotions.net/power. There, listeners can download over 9 checklists and free resources made to coach you through simple, proven marketing actions to increase new patients. So check it out today. That's practicepromotions.net/power, and I'll see you next time.